This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 857, Party Hat Fever. Enjoy. I think there's one other point I want to make about this quest before we move on, is that one of the criticisms I heard was that this turned out to be more about, in the end, more about Relomia than about us, when the perception when we first had this way back when in January was that this was going to be a quest looking back at different aspects of our growth as a character.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the overarching thing that I wanted to get back to. So I hear this criticism and I understand where it comes from. I respectfully disagree with it.
All right.
Interesting.
Because so first off, the broad intent of this quest, and this isn't me theory crafting. This is what Maud Osborne has said. He said that on the second most recent live stream, I think, where he said the idea was, we had the first part, which was the "It's a Wonderful Life." What would have been if you weren't here, kind of thing. And then the three parts after that were how you affected the past, how you affect the present, and how you affected the future. So the first part, flashbacks, that's the looking back. This is what we've done. This is looking back at our accomplishments.
Remember your old quests and tell me about them.
Right,
tell me
exactly.
how I'm wrong. Yes.
Relive your glory days. The third part, fortune, was this is what you are in the future. In the present. This is you in the moment, helping, being the world guardian, helping a person to become their best self.
Right.
The final part, which is this one, finale, is about how you have shaped the future, how your presence and your actions within the world have inspired the next generation that will come after you. So I've been racking my brain for days trying to think of it, because there's a Superman comic that did something similar. And I think it might have been All-Star Superman or whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, something like that. But Superman is at the end of his days, and he's concerned, like, did I do right? Was I good? And he's shown you inspire, like, what comes after you is generations, a line of Supermen into the future who will go on and do good. And you did that.
So maybe that's why
they're there because of you.
So maybe that's why they say the World Guardian is dead at one point.
Right. Well, because like that story doesn't make sense if we're in it.
Yeah.
It's a story that only works when we're dead, which I think is why this didn't hit well for a lot of people.
Right.
Because we can't die. If the World Guardian dies, the game is over.
Well, because in theory we revive because we've got some godly protection, and death says, "Nah, you're cool. You still have a role to play." Yeah, and at some point, our role is done.
We know in canon that at some point the World Guardian will die. The Balance Elemental, way back in While Gothic Sleeps.
Oh, yeah.
We saw you, like, this is a deep cut, but they say, "I was at your funeral. One day you will end." And like we know, the World Guardian is mortal. Eventually they will end. But like within the context of the game, like we are the lens through which the universe occurs. Like conceptually, our character can never die, or else the game ends, or at least the game as we know it ends.
Yeah, obviously.
Right. Shout out hardcore, and then
yeah, except for the hardcores. So I get what they were trying to do. I think it maybe didn't hit well for a lot of people for that reason, because it's a story that only makes sense if we aren't in it. But we'll always be in it. We have to be.
Yeah. And there's always, I think, and it probably comes down to the frame of what was laid out when we first heard about this in January, that this entire quest on its whole, including all the parts, was supposed to be a look back at the last 20 years in terms of what your character has done. Because I remember there being a point in which that was the frame, but then now, of course, we're looking at it from different perspectives. Like you said, if you weren't there, the past, the present, and now the future. Which
I think it's a good way to end the 20th anniversary, because like we're all coming out of 2021 hoping that there's going to be another 20 years of RuneScape.
Right.
So we've had our retrospective. Weren't the last 20 years great? And they were. And now we're at the end of that, and we're saying, what are we going to do next? What comes after this? And the future is bright. The future is exciting.
Here's my only clapback to this, is that that is a way of saying, here's some story to go with your 20 years of story. But it seems like that is more of a, like, how do I put this? It's set up. It doesn't feel like the main event itself, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's celebrating or reviewing things that we've done. To me, more like it's, it doesn't celebrate 20 years of RuneScape Pass. It celebrates the last couple of years and the next couple of years.
I can see that.
My comparison would be something like the Gower quest, right? Like the Gower quest to me feels like what I was expecting out of a 20th anniversary quest, where it's some good memes, some funky puzzles, definitely outside of canon.
Breaking the fourth wall.
We're going to throw back to all of our like funny interactions and creepy models and like stuff that isn't in use currently, and like the things that we said we were going to get at one point, and then they realized, hold on, that's actually not going to happen because of development time, or it's bad for the game, whatever it is. Like, we'll just chuck that stuff in this quest and like make a big joke out of it. And that RuneScape humor, that classic and essential RuneScape humor.
That's what people were expecting.
Yeah. There was humor in this, but it wasn't the lighthearted kind.
Right. But I think when you look at it in its own way, the narrative direction that came from this, based on what Maud Osborne said, I think works perfectly on this, and everybody who worked on all the various pieces were able to execute it wonderfully.
Meets what they said they were trying to do, right? Like, I'm not saying that they were trying to make a Gower quest and they ended up here.
Correct.
They clearly wanted to make this and they ended up here. And as a quest, like, I'm looking forward to playing through it again in a single run on my alt account.
I was actually contemplating doing that this weekend as well.
Seeing if it, because I feel like it was a relatively disparate quest. Like, all of the parts of this were very differently designed.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just interested to see how it goes together.
Yeah.
And if it's, because all the parts that were fine and enjoyable, I'm always happy to have quest content. I replayed both Ratcatchers and Garden of Tranquility in the last day, and I have opinions.
Yeah.
But
Garden of Tranquility, we called it
those.
back in the day. Anyways, I get where you're both coming from, and I think it's important that players look at it from that perspective. You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.